Great. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the meeting of Council of November 19th. It being 7 o'clock. I'll call the meeting to order. Council, any concerns or conflicts on the matters on the agenda? Not, then I would let everybody know Sadira Rodriguez from the Sunshine Coast Arts Festival sends her regrets. She's ill today, so item 4.3 will not be happening. I believe that's the only change to the agenda. So with that, if I could have a motion to adopt as amended. Thank you. Seconded. All in favor? Carried. I would assume that she will come and see us in the next meeting. December 3rd. Thank you. All right. Council, so then we'll go to item 4.1, and it is my honor. We have Ian Strachan with us from the Restorative Justice Institute, but it's my pleasure to proclaim November 16th to 22nd as Restorative Justice Week in the District of Sechelt. And sir, I understand you want to say a couple of words. If you'd come to the microphone, please.
Thank you very much. I have a few words to say about this, if you would bear with me. It's the Restorative Justice Program of the Sunshine Coast, the society, an incorporated society, and an incorporated charitable organization. Our goal is a safe, healthy, supportive, inclusive, and conflict-free community on the Sunshine Coast. We probably will never get to that goal, but that's still our goal. What we do, I just want to remind people what we do. We provide community-led, volunteer-based restorative justice services. Number one is peacemaking circles and dialogue circles to resolve community conflict and to improve community cohesiveness. Number two, community justice forums to resolve criminal offenses diverted from the justice system and to restore conflicted parties to the community. And you might have noticed one of the recent reports from Jennifer Parenti with the RCMP. She was very positive about restorative justice. Number three, promote reconciliation and governance sharing with our Indigenous neighbors. Number four, reduce all types of discrimination using experiential education. Number five, recruit and train community volunteers to become restorative justice practitioners for our organization. And number six, collaborate with other organizations to pursue similar objectives. For example, we work closely with the CI Reconciliation Movement. We work together with Elder College, which I'm also on the board of Elder College, things like that. In order to do this work, we need the support of local government, businesses, and the general public. We receive funds from granting agencies, but they expect to see significant local support as well. So to further that, we have an outreach program underway now with communications with the following objective: to ensure the community understands the principles and benefits of restorative justice, with the result that the community wishes to become restorative justice members, volunteers, leaders, and financial supporters of restorative justice. Finally, we want to thank the District of Sechelt for the generous support we received in the form of, I believe it's $11,000, sometimes it's $10,500 per annum. In addition, basically rent-free office space at Rockwood Lodge and free use of all the District of Sechelt venues. In addition, your staff that we deal with are always very cooperative and helpful. Thank you very much. Speaking to one of them over here. I estimate that this support amounts to almost $25,000 of cash and in-kind support. This is significant for us. I also estimate that similar support on a per capita basis from all other governments on the Sunshine Coast would add roughly $40,000 to our support. We are in the middle of a program to develop restorative justice teams of volunteers in Pender Harbor, Half Moon Bay, Roberts Creek, and Gibsons. And we will need the support from other governments to finish this effort. So as part of Restorative Justice Week, We met with the public in Trail Bay Mall last weekend, and we will be doing the same this coming weekend in Sunnycrest Mall in Gibsons. So that's about my message. If there's any questions,
Right.
I'd be willing to field them.
Very good, thank you. Council, any questions? Please, Councillor Inkster, Sir Bell.
Thank you. I don't know if I mentioned this before. I always have a soft spot for, I think it was called something different years ago, restorative justice. It was, I forget what the name was. I'll try to think of it while I speak, but I was part of that particular form of justice in the 90s. And it was actually our finance director's partner at the time that was running the program. I came back from university with a crim degree and was involved in the program for a number of years, as well as my other stuff that Chamber of Commerce involvement and things like that before I ran for council. So I certainly am very familiar with your program and very supportive, and I'm glad that you've had some success and continue to be active on the Sunshine Coast, because I know there was a number of years, I think in the early 2000s, where it wasn't as active. So it's good to see the activity again. Thanks for doing what you do, you and your group.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Inkster. Councillor Bell?
Yes, through the chair. Mine is also an acknowledgement and a thank you for the work that you do for the community. It's a philosophy that I think is so important these days. And I'm really glad to hear that you're doing some outreach, which is at the malls, because I know when we've spoken in the past that people need to know what you do and more about you. So really good to see you out there, and so happy that you're part of the community and we can continue to support you. Thank you.
Thank you. It's rewarding for us too.
Great.
Yep.
Thank you.
I've got this proclamation. Should I read it? Or
No,
just take it
no,
with
that
me?
you can take it,
Okay.
take it with you. We've got one more question, I believe,
Okay.
from Councillor Shepherd.
Sorry.
Thanks. Through the chair, I wonder if you, sorry, did you say that you get funding from the SCRD for Justice Institute, or?
We do get some funding from the SCRD. It's not very much, and I'm going off the top of my head here. I think it's $4,000. And we don't get anything from Gibson.
Could you say that louder, please?
We're working on that. We're working on that.
Very good. All right, well, thank you, and we do appreciate all the work that you and the rest of the volunteers do, so
Thank
thanks
you.
very much. Council, then we'll turn to item 4.2, which is the other delegation entitled BC Coastal Marine Strategy, and I believe we have Alicia Elgert joining us, and she will magically appear on the screen.
There I am. Hi, good evening. Thank you so much for allowing us this opportunity to talk about coastal marine strategy tonight. I'll begin whenever you're ready.
Please go ahead.
Okay, amazing. Thank you. Hello, Mayor Henderson and Council. My name is Alicia Elgert, and I am a conservation campaigner for the Ocean Program at Canadian Parks and Wilderness Society, BC. I'm calling from Vancouver on the unceded and traditional and ancestral territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh Nations, where I am grateful to live and work. I'm here this evening to request that the District of Sechelt support the BC Coastal Marine Strategy and its enshrinement into law. The coast is our lifeline, as I'm sure everyone in Sechelt is quite familiar with. It plays an irreplaceable role in ecological function, Indigenous cultural survival, recreation, climate adaptation, and ensuring BC's economic prosperity. Unfortunately, a lot of these ecosystem services are being eroded by habitat degradation, pollution, and the intensifying impacts of climate change. More than 4 years ago, the province heard these concerns and took steps to develop BC's first coastal marine strategy. It's an intersectional plan aiming to boost biodiversity, tackle marine pollution, and recover nearshore habitats with nature-based solutions, all while advancing Indigenous coastal management, building up resilience to climate change, and working to revitalize coastal economies and communities. The strategy outlines how to better protect and manage the coast in a proactive manner rather than the ad hoc methods of the past. Right now, we understand that the province is making an effort to build trade partnerships for our sustainable seafood industry and navigate BC through a period of economic turmoil, all while the consequences of numerous coastal threats compound to work against these goals. The Coastal Marine Strategy connects the dots between these issues and will serve as a roadmap to illustrate how we can best resolve these concerns together. So although the release of the Coastal Marine Strategy is a significant accomplishment for BC, there's already a functional gap that currently exists, and that is that the strategy itself does not have a legal framework to back it up. So BC has already committed under Action 19 of the strategy to assess and develop coastal marine legislation with First Nations, but it's critical that this happens soon as the strategy is expected to begin implementation next year in 2026. Legislation is key to strong integrated coastal management. An accompanying legal framework will ensure the policies outlined in the Coastal Marine Strategy are prioritized, long-lasting, and able to withstand the inevitable changes in political landscape over the course of its 20-year vision. Without a legal framework, the strategy could fall short of meeting its desired outcomes. So a coastal marine strategy that is strengthened by legislation will allow BC to reap the benefits of a flourishing blue economy, safe coastal communities that are resilient to the impacts of climate change like flooding and sea level rise, as well as storm surges, a clean coast that supports recreation, tourism, and healthy shellfish harvests, as well as meaningful acts of reconciliation through Indigenous co-management. The Coastal Marine Strategy has the potential to radically transform coastal management for the better, making BC a leader across Canada. When the ocean thrives, so do we. And in a time when many outcomes are uncertain and the province is seeking made in BC solutions to global issues, the Coastal Marine Strategy brings a wave of hope to all those who call the coast home and rely upon its abundance. So tonight we encourage you to stand up for the coast by supporting the BC Coastal Marine Strategy and its enshrinement into law. In particular, perhaps sending a letter to the Honourable David Eby, Premier, and the Honourable Randy Neal, Minister of Water, Land and Resource Stewardship, letting them know that the District of Sechelt supports this strategy and does want to see it accompanied with a legal framework for its best success. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much. I guess we'll turn it over to council. Anybody got any questions, things you'd like to clarify of Ms. Elgert? Please, Councillor Inkster.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Henderson. I'm happy to see this. I'm certainly supportive of a marine strategy, but I'm particularly supportive of this marine strategy that it may help us deal with some of our problems in Porpoise Bay, because it does deal with some clean coast, and I hope that within that means that we can deal with some of the problems with derelict vessels in Porpoise Bay. So I would certainly support this and urge the mayor to write an additional letter to the province as to how we can enhance the property, the parts of this strategy that would deal with our properties and our issues in Sechelt. And so that's my opinion and thoughts, but I also have an additional motion at the end of this. Thanks.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Councillor Shepherd.
Thanks, through the chair. I did read through the document and I'm in general agreement with the principles of the document. Where I trip over is in asking the province to enshrine it into law, because I don't know the impact of that on sort of laws as they exist. And I, for my own part, would like to know what impact it would have on the existing laws. So I'm reticent about asking the province to enshrine that within a legal framework at this point. Thanks.
Great. Perhaps if I can frame that in a question, Ms. Elgert, where do things stand with the province, or for that matter, with other jurisdictions like Sechelt?
Yes, so these are some of the questions that we've asked ourselves. CPAWS BC has a joint campaign called Blueprint for the Coast, where we work to advocate for this strategy. And our partners on this campaign are West Coast Environmental Law. So currently we have staff lawyers from West Coast that are assessing what is needed from a legal framework and what can realistically be done, and if there's anything like in terms of regulations that can be addressed. So this is still something that is up in the air a little bit for us. All that we know for sure is that we need some legal guidelines basically to hold government accountable to achieving these goals in a specific time period that they are suggesting. We just want to ensure that the government is held accountable for their role in coastal management and for protecting the communities and the economies that rely on the ocean health.
And have you been approaching the other jurisdictions like Sechelt?
Yes, so we have continued our outreach with municipal governments across the province, in particular coastal governments, but also ones more interior to the province as well. We've been giving a number of presentations similar to these, as well as reaching out in a similar way that we did with you folks and offering resources, a chance to like talk and ask questions, and also presenting letter templates that you could potentially use as a resource to send to the province should you choose to support what we're presenting here today.
Okay, all right, thank you. Others, Councillor Bell, please.
Yes, through the chair. Are you doing, are you doing any work or associating with any like Sunshine Coast Conservation Society, that kind of thing on locally? Are you working with some of our local partners? Basically what I'm asking.
Yes, so recently, so not particularly on the coastal marine strategy as of yet, but we have done like events and webinars with Sunshine Coast Conservation Association. We did a webinar sometime earlier this year, actually, and that actually was on coastal marine strategy. I think that was around World Oceans Day, so probably in June of this year. But also just to hit upon the last question, actually, because some things are coming to mind. So the district, or the city of Parksville, recently we had a meeting with them and their council. Is a motion that, or not a motion, but a resolution that they have endorsed in supporting the strategy and a legal framework, as well as the district of Saanich and the city of Langford as well. We also took this to AVICC, and it's currently something that we've presented to UBCM and is currently undergoing like, I guess, review with their executive council, as it was something that didn't quite have time to be on the docket during the conference itself. So we have been doing broad municipal outreach with this strategy and gaining support. We're just trying to keep the momentum going because implementation is expected to start next year. And really, we really need like funding and we need legislation to ensure that it has like a good start and that the momentum can keep going from there.
Just one follow-up question is, I guess I'm certainly supportive of anything that supports marine strategy. I guess for me, it's really understanding what you're looking at in terms of legislation.
Yes.
And that's a little, I don't really understand that right now. So I don't know
Yes,
what information you can provide.
absolutely.
Make this decision. I think that would be helpful.
Yes, and that's something that currently West Coast lawyers are reviewing. And however, I would be more than happy to link you folks up via email and pass these questions on to them as well. So if there's any particular resources that they can offer to provide some clarification, that we would be happy to do that.
Okay, very. For me, I guess I would say we spend a lot of time, all elected bodies, dealing with strategy. We define the strategy and then the real work starts of when we try to codify it into law. And so my encouragement to council, and I suppose to you, Ms. Elgert, is in reading through this, I don't see that you're close enough to get to take it to a legal, like I'd like to see the province take a step forward to confirm that they think a law would make sense. But I think it's early days at this stage. The spirit is there in the strategy, and that's great, but
Yeah.
converting things from strategy to bylaws in our case are quite a process.
Yes, the province has already committed to assessing and developing coastal marine legislation in co-development with participating nations. I'm not sure to what extent that process is currently underway, but it is something that the province has identified both within the initial drafts of the strategy and the final product itself of being necessary going forward.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Councillor Bell.
Yes, one last question through the chair. I think it might be helpful if I'd like to ask for a request perhaps from staff to write a letter to MLA Randy Neal, and just to get her perspective and her feedback or input on this at this point in time. I think that would be helpful for us.
Okay, so that's in the, I think you're making a motion?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor McLaughlin seconds. Okay, any discussion? Councillor Shepherd.
Sorry, it's to have staff write a letter to our MLA asking for what?
For be her input on this.
Okay, but why do we need a staff to do that? Why can't we just? Okay. Yeah, thanks.
So, okay, all right, that's, okay, that's very helpful. Okay. Okay, so a straightforward letter essentially saying, Minister Neal, what do you think of the delegation that came to see us today?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll call a question. All in favor? Carried. All right, I think, do you have anything, Councillor Inkster?
Well, I guess it doesn't matter at this point because we're going in a different direction. I really
Okay.
think that we should be supporting anything that helps us keep our marine environment clean.
Mhm.
And we're going in a different direction, so we're gathering information, then it comes back to us, and then we may contact this group again, I think, to ask for more information, and then they may come back and to report to us, and then we decide whether we want to support marine strategy, like what's our route forward? Because what I would also ask, if in fact we went in the direction of this strategy that includes many of the pieces in there, but for me, the Clean the Coast piece is to work with our staff to look at Porpoise Bay. I'm really looking for tools to put pieces in place that would maybe include a harbor authority if the province or somebody else would help us with the funding of that to deal with some of the issues in Porpoise Bay. And so if this strategy will help, or if they can come back in a month after we get that letter, or we hear from the MLA, and we then adopt the strategy, and then we ask staff to write a report on the issue so we can move forward with problem that we've been having for way too long. So that's kind of where I am.
Yep,
Yeah, thanks.
and I would support the spirit of that. I think I'd rather we focus on that though, than rely on this legal process. I think we hopefully can be more, move faster on that front, but it's not simple as we all know. Councillor McLaughlin, please.
Yes, thank you through the chair. About a couple weeks ago, I attended a session at the Natural History Society. There was a presentation there by a young biologist, and it was very informative. She looked at our Salish Sea in particular, and studied various species, and came to a kind of a shocking conclusion. It seemed to me that our Salish Sea is actually warming faster than other bodies. of water around here. It's a particular environment, and that's particularly, problematic for the sea life. And so I think it's critical that we don't just focus on Porpoise Bay. A lot of the issues at Porpoise Bay are our own doing, but certainly just the natural location, geography, and the nature of the water and the tides is much more of an issue than I thought. So I want to be very supportive of this strategy as soon as possible, because, time is of the essence, really. And we don't know how much, but we're starting to find out that it is very critical to start addressing the marine health. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, seeing nothing else, Ms. Elgert, I'll thank you for now, and I'm sure when we hear back from Minister Neal, we'll connect with you.
Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Thank you. All right, Council, we can then move to item 5.1, which is the Sunshine Coast Regional Accessibility Plan, and a report from our chief, corporate officer. Yes, and Council, so we have the report in front of us. As Councillor Inkster reminded me, we have the chair of the committee, Mr. Conway, with us. If we have, he's indicated he's ready to ask questions, or ask questions, hopefully answer the questions. Thank you, Bill. So, Council, we've got the report starting on page 6, and I'm in your hands, Councillor Shepherd.
I'll move the recommendations on page 6, 1 through 7. Thank you.
Great, and there's a seconder. Questions, folks? Wow. Okay, yep, okay, then. Oh, sorry, Councilor
Yeah.
McLaughlin.
Thank you for the chair.
Thought you were
Yeah,
moving.
I guess maybe some comments. I did talk to Lynn Forrest, who also sits on the committee, about this report, just to get the lowdown from her. And it seems that basically the recommendations cover what's needed in order to assess the sea shelf situation in particular, and come up with ideas, recommendations, priorities, and projects that we can pursue. So that's kind of the next step. I mean, I would have liked to have seen that kind of happening now, so we could have put maybe something in our budget that we're working on currently, but it looks like it's going to be a little more time to work out the details and do a full-fledged plan. To me, this is almost more of a policy, and it's a regional policy. So we need to get it down to details in terms of the plan, and, almost like a map plan, what is needed where and why, so that people will understand specifically what we're trying to do. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Councillor Shepherd, yes.
Actually, I think just to follow up on Councilor McLaughlin's point, sorry, through the chair, if you look under the section under the report for the SARD, there's a separate section for the District of Sechelt where it does get down to a granular level with specifics. So I wonder if we could get an opinion or a comment from staff as to what are the next steps. Is there any specific project ready to be considered in the 2026 budget? Thanks.
Very good. So I'll turn that over to Ms. Polson.
Thank you for the question. Many of the items on the list of barriers that the committee has generated are actually already in the works. So they are already included in our 2026 draft budgets, which our finance department will be bringing forward fairly soon. So the idea with this recommendation to council tonight is to get council's direction to provide, for staff to provide a specific report on each of those items. So it'd just be a more detailed description of where those are at, if they're already in the works or not.
Okay. Very good, thank you. So if I understand, so as we get into the budget, we'll get some better idea of the amount of staff time, the dollar cost of the staff time. Yeah. Very good. Okay, Counselor Bell?
Yes, through the chair. This is just a clarification question. So my understanding is then, at this point then, tonight is, part of this process is to come to to each one of the regions then. So we've got Sunshine Coast, or the Sechelt, District of Sechelt, we've got the town of Gibsons, and then we've got SCRD. So it's to come to be, to get their endorsement in principle to each of the groups. That's my understanding?
Mhm.
Okay,
Yep.
great, thanks.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Conway? Not, I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you, everybody. What everybody's come for is item 6.1 through
That was unanimous.
6.7.
Unanimous.
Thank you. These bylaws that we've seen in committee and gave 3 readings to in the last, I believe, the last council meeting. So unless council has late concerns, I will entertain the usual motion and second and voting. So for item 6.1, which is bylaw 575-17, 2025 for adoption, move Counselor Shepherd, second Counselor Bell. All in favor? Carried. And the 6.2 being bylaw 248-1, 2025, moved Counselor McLaughlin? No? Okay.
I just wondered if you could combine these together rather than having to go through,
I think as
Some-
bylaws, I would encourage council to take
take the time and
Yeah.
walk through them all. Okay.
yeah, I think as their bylaws, we give 3 readings for a single bylaw sometimes, but we don't usually combine bylaws. So, so I'll entertain a motion and second, and all in favor for 248-1, 2025, carried. Item 6.3 is bylaw 458-4, 2025, move seconded, all in favor, carried. I think I'm keeping track. Did I miss 6.4? Yes, that's now 480-05, 2025, move second, all in favor. Thank you. 6.5 is bylaw number, in respect of 494-05, 2025, move second, all in favor, carried. Bylaw number 520-09, 2025, moved, seconded, all in favor. And finally, bylaw number 575-16, 2025, move second, all in favor. Thank you very much. Council, then we go to the minutes of the APC meeting, the Advisory Planning Commission, and these are before us for receipt. Don't know if anybody's got any concerns or questions. Yes, please.
No concerns or questions. It's just like an explosion of information from the advisory panel. So I wonder if I could direct a question to the Director of Planning to sort of try and summarize the results of all that commentary from the APC.
Mm-hmm. Oh, is that all? Can you help us, Mr. Allen? Page 129, et cetera.
This would be for your worship, or the,
The meeting itself.
Yeah.
I mean,
so it's the, I'm just going through the minutes here. So it was the September, no, it was the October meeting.
Yes.
Yeah, the November meeting is fresh in my mind,
Gord-
so I'm just
yeah.
a little bit
Yeah.
confused. I
Yeah.
just need to unravel that.
Yeah, sorry to
Can I-
spring that on you.
Can I paraphrase? I mean, if you were, as you cast your mind back to October, it was obviously an engaged group of people.
Correct. We presented the community land development analysis to them and had a discussion, a lengthy discussion about all things Sechelt, future planning, official community plan, how to involve the APC. A reminder from the APC that they're keen to be involved in the official community plan, much like many groups are, and had a spirited discussion about that and how we can improve our process, how this process went, reflection on the open meetings. And I recall that they want to carry on, and they expressly do not want us to cancel APC meetings when there's no development referrals, and a reminder that they want to be more than just a development referral body. And so when that happens, then we fill in with OCP topics where we can. I think that was a quick summary. And sorry for the delay, because I was processing
Yep.
November meeting and looking at October minutes, and it was just two thoughts.
I must admit, when I read these, I was going, this isn't what was at the last meeting, but yeah.
No,
Right.
that's great. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, a motion then, oh, yes, please.
Yeah, thank you. Through the chair, I'm just a little confused on page 131 of 133. At the top, it says employment is not factored into the report. And then a few dots down, it says employment is factored into commercial and industrial use. So maybe you could clarify that.
Okay, can I just remind Councillor McLaughlin, these are minutes. So I take your point that what is the, if you
Yeah.
can speculate on what the commission was referencing, but it's not
Sure.
really before us for debate or challenge.
Yeah, I think that comment may have come from a member of the APC who read it
Mhm.
and felt that it might have been reflective more of residential policies or residential uses within Sechelt rather than providing a summary of our economic development opportunities, our land base that's for commercial and industrial use being on page 129. Then later on, there was another comment about, well, it does look at all the lands. It's not just a residential focus. If I recall that, that might be the
Yeah.
context of it.
Very good.
Thank you.
Good. Okay, Councillor Shepherd.
I'll move to adopt the
Great,
minutes.
thank you. Receive, yes. Move to receive, seconded, all in favor of receipt, carried. All right, I neglected at the top of the meeting to note, Councillor Toss sent his regrets. He's not feeling well today. And also Councillor Rowe had a personal, I guess, issue arise suddenly, so they send their regrets. Which means Councillor Inkster gets to do the SCRD report on his own. Nobody to cross-check you.
I think I can do it. Yeah,
Give it a shot.
I'm hoping. I think Chair Toth is watching, so I may have to correct my report next meeting. We'll see. Just want to mention a few things. There was there's been a lot of budget discussion, as this council knows. We are doing it. Of course, the regional district is doing it. The first couple of meetings are in early December, to basically what the regional district calls the first round on the Monday, Tuesday, early December of their budget. Today at the Seaside Center, there was a presentation of the various departments, what they do, and just to let the community know what the regional district does with the various departments and the budgetary pieces that are attached to that was a presentation of the community. You're always hoping that the community, they did it from 2 till 5:30, so that gives people opportunity to come from work. So we always hope the community comes out. A few members did, and they added some comments to the boards, but I guess it's like our public budget meetings. You always hope that the community comes out to engage with us and tell us what they like or gets an understanding of our budget. So in sort of reflecting back on today and the fact that we're about to start budget, there's some people, but a lot of what happens at the regional district is that rural people with the direct taxation, the rural areas tend to have a lot to contribute to their budget process, not so much us. Because as we've talked about, myself in particular, because I focus on three things a lot at that table: transit, which will see some increased costs. Recreational facilities, which we've talked about, the loan will disappear in the next few months, so there will be a discussion what to do with that particular issue. And water, which the regional district's working hard at creating a number of redundancies, and that tends to be funded by the individual bills we get. So those are the things that I focus on at the table when it comes to budget. There was that presentation, and now council knows that in early December, there'll be the budget meetings. Last Thursday, there was some other things that happened at the table. The draft water rates were presented to the regional district from staff. There was some recycling contracts which were agreed upon and were presented, and that was for some of the metal contracts that the regional district enters into in order to deal with from some of the depots, the metal that comes in to the regional district, and how to pay for those pieces to be recycled. And I just also wanted to mention the community water protocol that will most likely be coming soon, much like we did on solid waste. And I think we haven't had a transit one, so that means that this council, as soon as it is organized, as far as I know, because they did get funding for it, I think this council is aware of the funding that you can access for community cooperation. And they were given that grant from UBCM, and so I think in the next month or two we'll be going to the regional district again to talk about water, the water protocol, such as reservoir, etc. And that's probably it from the regional district so far. Thanks.
Very good, thank you. Then we'll go to council reports, and how about we start with you, Councillor McLaughlin. Your microphone's on already, so.
sorry.
And then Councillor Bell and Councillor Shepherd and Councillor Inkster.
Yeah, I don't have much to report this week, just I guess the Natural History Society meeting was one of the community things I attended. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Councillor Bell. Microphone, please.
Community Safety Meeting on Wednesday, November 18th, and it was really an opportunity to get people back together and start to look at what our work is in front of us. And we looked at breaking into work groups to build more capacity to really get to work and what we can do to help make our community safer. We did have a PowerPoint from BC Housing, and the PowerPoint that will also be shown on December 2nd at the open house that they're having. So we did get a chance to see that and ask some more questions, and those questions will be shared when we send out our communication piece. The one thing that we have talked about as this group, the safety group, community safety work group, is to really start communicating more effectively and efficiently. So really keep people more informed of what's happening in the community, what we can do, what we can't do, what we're working on, and what actions we're achieving, and what is not completed. So that is a commitment from the work group, and we're looking forward to helping all of the people that are doing the great work in the community right now, like the RCMP and the volunteers that are doing the work around safety in our community. The other thing I want to say is that I have the opportunity to also work, as many of you know, with our MP Patrick Weiler as his constituency assistant. So I'm going to get a chance to every once in a while to share some things. And we were with the Stream Keepers the other day, and I want to highlight them because they're an incredible group of volunteers. And we were with them while they were completing their spawning counts. And they're such an important volunteer-led community group and dedicated to really protecting and restoring the wild salmon populations in our local creeks. So we got a chance to see, actually, we were very lucky that day apparently to be able to see as many as we did, many chum, but we actually got to see 10 cohos, which apparently they're quite shy. So we were lucky to see those. And I think that is it. I did want to make, I'm going to come back, if I may, and just talk about the announcement that just came out for the funding for the RCMP. I don't have that in front of me, so I would like to share that, but if I can pull that up after and share it.
The C-STEP?
Yes, Steve.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, so, well, all right.
Yeah.
We'll come back to you in a minute. Councillor Shepherd, or maybe you want to take the lead.
Yeah, I'll try and take the lead. In reference to that, one of the first things I was going to point out is that the mayor convened a meeting last week in response to a number of arson events that were taking place on a particular property. And it was a very timely meeting, pulled together members of the RCMP, fire department, our own staff, to try and communicate to the public what the district was doing in response to these events. And the RCMP were, helpful in their opinion. They announced the C-STEP funding that they had applied for and obtained. We'd heard about it in meetings with ministries in September, and they were successful in getting the funding. And that allows the RCMP to put more people on foot patrol at nighttime. And that's going to be great for the community. So they spoke about that. Our own bylaw at that meeting informed us of the steps they were taking to mitigate the problems that were taking place at this property. So that was really helpful. And I think it's really falls to both the district and the select committee on safety to communicate these things out to the public. So very important offense. That was the first thing I wanted to talk about. The second thing was actually a follow-up question to our regional director, Inkster. I had drafted a motion asking that the region support funding gym memberships for ECE because we're in such a dire strait in terms of the daycare problems that the whole Sunshine Coast is having. And I wonder if you could comment on where that went. Thanks.
Yeah.
Sorry, just before, are you finished with your report? Okay, so please, Councillor Inkster, maybe you can answer that and give us your report.
I love finishing Councillor Shepherd's report for him. The motion that this council sent to the regional district, I think council remembers that night in which two of us abstained, but ended up voting for it. So we should have been, which is fine. It's just using the way you should be thinking about the rules of decision making. But anyway, we were happy to bring it to that table and introduce it very as soon as we could. And as it was discussed at that table, actually Mayor White, who's on the committee, asked that that motion be sent to the Child Care Working Committee for them to talk about that, and so that they could then talk about it. That's where it is, and I'm not sure if you're on the committee continuing. No, and then the committee should be talking about it, and then it would come back to the regional district after the committee talked about it, just to see what exactly that means, how many people exactly that they could fund. There's some before Councillor Shepherd introduced the motion, I was trying to figure out at the regional district how easy that would be to implement to pick out a group of people and fund their gym memberships, because inevitably you get from other people and groups asking for the same thing. So I think I was trying to figure out how to do that. So there was the delay, and I think this council hastened us to introduce it while I was trying to figure that out. But anyway, that's where it sits and that's where it went. And I can check tomorrow where that's at and get back to either Councillor Shepherd if he wants to report back or this council.
Thank you. That's the answer and the conclusion of Councillor Shepherd's report.
Yes.
Do you have anything you would like to report on?
Yeah. Yeah, just sure. A couple of things. I did mention the budget presentation over the Seaside Center. Mention that again. Just good presentations. And then also did a tour of Porpoise Bay with MP Weiler, and Councillor Bell was there last weekend to look at some of the issues that are there. And it was just, I think it was impromptu put together by some concerned citizens and then done quickly, but I was glad to have been invited last minute to go and to point out some of the issues. So we did a tour with Mr. McKenzie, and he brought us out in his boat. So that was good to get out there and look at these things. That's something that's been on three of Mayor Henderson, Councillor Bell, and myself's agenda for probably over a year now. I'm trying to deal with that issue. So it's a frustrating one, but I won't give up until we find some solutions. So that was a good tour. And I'm glad to hear of the funding for the police. I just wonder why we couldn't have done that before. I've always wondered why, with things starting to become problematic a couple of years ago, we couldn't introduce more police officers into our community. And so I hope the program continues for a while in order to deal with some of the issues. And then I hope when people are caught, they're prosecuted properly based on the amount of damage they're doing. So I'll keep
Yeah.
saying that, like other issues, more police presence in the evening and put these people that are recidivists in jail. Thanks.
Okay, recidivists. Thanks. Maybe I'll just add to that. I don't want to overstate or have people to think that the things are really great. I think the C-step was about $40,000. So this is really for some additional, I think it translates to some overtime for some officers. It is not like we're getting one or more full-time members of the police. For me, it's been a busy couple of weeks. I won't go through, but I think I counted about 20 meetings in the last 2 weeks. I want to pick up on the childcare comments, both the bus passes or the recreation passes, but this is a serious issue, Council. The daycare's lost another full-time person. The parents I know are in really desperate straits, and in the meetings with the YMCA, which manages certainly the West Sechelt one, which I'm more aware of, and the province, it's intractable at this point. It seems like the way you attract people naturally is with a living wage, and we're don't seem to be able to attract them. Want to give a shout out to the Lions Club. I was asked to come and speak to them a bit about some things they might like to do after the current Green Court expansion is completed. And November 10th at my Meet the Mayor event, I was taken aback, as was the restaurant, when 60 people showed up for a table of 6 or 8 or 10. I think it's indicative of the concern in the community about the announcement, because much of the topics related to the provincial government's plans or announcement to build additional supportive and complex care facilities in Sechelt. There was some request to have another one that evening, which I did, and Councillor Toth joined me when we had about 20 people in attendance. Let's see, the Remembrance Day, again, a shout out to our team, our staff who installed, some of you with eagle eyes may have seen the Canadian maple leaf decals and the Lest We Forget on the crosswalks leading to and from, I guess, the Cenotaph. And of course, the Cenotaph grounds looked great. Yes, the Legion, yes, the Cenotaph down at the foot of Cowrie at Wharf. A reminder too, the Legion was full and it was fun that afternoon, and it's a reminder to please get out and support the Legion. They would want me to tell you, you don't have to be a member to go and enjoy the Legion Bar and Grill. Saturday was a busy day. Went took some visitors on a tour of the Divine Caviar facility. I'm always reminded of how fortunate we are. It's such an impressive scientific operation as well as apparently a thriving business. Attended a luncheon with some VIPs and then a challenging afternoon celebration of life for the one of the person who lost his life due to a medical health crisis, and about 200 people in the senior center celebrating what was a very difficult thing for him, his family. And ended with Rotary whiskey tasting dinner, which suffice to say was a lot of fun. And again, thanks to Rotary, the volunteers who step up to make that happen. Had an unusual event on Monday. I was asked to chair a panel for the Global EV annual survey. We had about 250 journalists and members. So Council, if you think looking at Zoom in this setting is daunting, when you know there's 250 or so people listening and watching, you sort of check that your hair is combed and so on. But we had a panel of Hungary, Costa Rica, US, Holland, and India all participating and talking about all things EV, but I won't take council's time for that. I was interviewed earlier today by CTV Vancouver about the need for long-term care facilities in Sechelt and the Sunshine Coast, and I don't know, of course, if it made airtime today. And joined the chamber meeting where there was a presentation from the City of Vancouver personnel. This lady who I've known since she was a much younger person was talking. She's got a lot of experience dealing in the downtown east side, and she's the superintendent of integrated response team for the City of Vancouver. So she gave the chamber a very strong briefing on how they've dealt with things in Vancouver. And on a whim, I went to the courthouse, not called, I chose to go. And just to see how our system, our justice system is working. Pick up on some of what you said, Councilor Inkster, that some of the, what's that word again? That word, thank you.
People that keep
Yep,
doing it?
Yep, well, there was one there, and interesting to see how the process worked, and the judge made his decision and then carried on. So I do encourage council and the public get a chance to go and see how our justice system is working. Hey, so that's my report. I think that's about it on the meeting agenda. Yep. Okay, council, if there's nothing else, motion to adjourn. Thank you, and seconded. All in favor? We are adjourned. And now we can take questions. Corporate officer, how, we got folks online? And those who
We do have folks online, and I'll just take a moment